it's B. Today I'm going to be talking about imposter phenomenon. You may have heard it called imposter syndrome, which is the more popular name, but as I'll get into, it's actually called imposter phenomenon. So I have some stronger feelings about imposter phenomenon because it's something that is kind of prevalent amongst graduate students, both in something that we talk about as well as something that we experience by and large. Studies have shown that up to 70+% of people experience imposter phenomenon, at least in a professional setting. It's something that's been mentioned to me both by peers, I've brought up myself, I've seen encountered in social media, and things that we've received formal presentations about during training. So I want to go over like it's a class, the way that I think about imposter syndrome, which is almost that it's counterproductive. Thinking is that our focus on imposter phenomenon as a syndrome and not a symptom is what's holding it back from being truly productive as a way of thinking about professional experience, especially in graduate school. So the term imposter phenomenon was originally coined by Clance and Imes in 1978 in the journal Psychotherapy, Theory, Research, and Practice. Sounds like a pretty important journal. They originally used the term imposter phenomenon to designate an internal experience of intellectual phoniness. They go on to detail specifically what that could mean and different practices for treating it. Here's the thing. The original study focused on 150 high-achieving women. The metrics for this were designated by Clance and Imes in their original study, but it was specifically focused on this subset of people. They claimed that certain early family dynamics and later introduction of societal sex role stereotyping appear to contribute significantly to the development of imposter phenomenon. When you think about it from that context, really imposter phenomenon is a symptom that presents itself due to kind of feelings of misplacement. Since the original study published in 1978, there have been multiple follow-up studies on various populations, and studies have shown that imposter phenomenon is pretty prevalent, almost up to about 70% in certain professional settings, and is equally prevalent among men and women, though gender non-conforming people aren't studied because were not studied. Clance and Imes also claimed that despite outstanding accomplishments, women who experience the imposter phenomenon persist in believing that they are really not bright and have fooled anyone who thinks otherwise. The problem being is that factual evidence towards the contrary doesn't really play into your personal mindset, your personal idea of who you are, whether you're an imposter or not. So being presented with those facts doesn't necessarily seem to help. The first time that I heard of imposter phenomenon, I was like, oh my gosh, wow, other people do that too? That's so cool, so helpful to know. As people who deal with depression and anxiety, as well as other prevalent mental health issues can tell you, being told other people go through the same thing really stops being helpful after the first couple of times. I had one personal experience where I was unbeknownst to me, about to experience a mental health crisis. It was really bad. And a few weeks before this, on my birthday actually, I was expressing some feelings of concern about how I didn't feel prepared to embark on the graduate school journey, or that I didn't feel like I was the same as my other classmates, or that I didn't fit in, that sort of large generalized feeling. And I was told, man, that imposter syndrome will really get ya. And yeah, A, it will. B, I was definitely feeling imposter phenomenon, but the root cause of it was that I didn't feel okay. Turns out I was right. I was about to feel very not okay. But many other people feel this way for various reasons, and those are all real, true, genuine reasons that should be addressed and pinpointed, right? If you're feeling like you are the only Latinx person in your lab group or in your discipline or something like that, and that makes you feel isolated and lonely and like you don't belong, sure, we could lump those feelings into imposter phenomenon, but really that's a lack of representation stemming from large systematic biases that keep Latinx people out of American academic institutions. Those imposter feelings stem from the result of something very real, and I think that treating imposter syndrome as something in and of itself, something on its own that comes and does its nasty thing, is counterproductive. When we think about imposter phenomenon as a symptom of something larger, something probably systematic, then we can start to address those things. So essentially what I'm getting at is that having more presentations about imposter phenomenon isn't super helpful. having presentations about how to develop support for yourself, how we can develop support for each other, and how we can find more representation within whatever our professional setting is. In my case, it's academia. Those things I think are important, not only for us to talk about, students to hear that they are seen and that there is progress being made towards this, and that's something that we can work on. All of those things I think are things that people need to hear, whereas hearing that sometimes people feel imposter phenomenon isn't necessarily something new. Let's talk about the reasons why. Anyways, that's all I had to say today, so thank you for listening.